In this tutorial, I'm going to go over the things you need to know to take good pictures on the Sony A7. Let's start with this dial right here located at the top of the camera. Auto is pretty self-explanatory. The camera does everything for you. If you switch it into P, P stands for Program Auto. So what happens here is that the exposure is adjusted automatically between the shutter speed and the aperture, which we'll talk more about in a minute. But you do have ability to go in and change them. So it kind of does it for you, but if you wanted to tweak it on your own, you could. A stands for aperture priority, meaning you set the aperture and the camera does the rest to achieve proper exposure. S stands for shutter speed, where you set the shutter speed and the camera does the rest to achieve proper exposure. And then M is like, thank you very much, camera. I'll do it all myself. I'm going to make sure I adjust everything the way I want it. Obviously, professional photographers go this route. It's the best option to get used to working with because you have maximum control over what your image is going to look like. One of the first things you need to decide before you start taking pictures is what format you're going to take them in. For maximum image quality and to do what the pros do, you would choose a format called RAW. You go here to Menu. Under File Format, if you hit the button here, you have three options. RAW is uncompressed. It's the maximum amount of information per photo, but it's also going to produce the largest file sizes. But when you go to edit the photo in Photoshop, it does give you the most flexibility. RAW and JPEG takes one of each, and then JPEG, it will produce a good image. However, make sure that if you're going to shoot JPEG, I want you to go down to JPEG quality and make sure it's set to extra fine, not fine or standard. Extra fine is the best of the three options here. So it'll give you more information than like the standard, but not as much as a RAW. So it's a pretty good compromise, but if you're going to do this right, the best option of the three is RAW. Just know that you won't be able to take as many photos on your SD card if you were to shoot all in RAW. So for now, I'll leave it set to JPEG as long as it's set to extra fine. All right, so when it comes to shooting sports, you obviously want to be able to shoot multiple pictures quickly, or what they commonly call burst. Now there's a way to change what's called the drive mode in the A7, so you could tell it to shoot one picture at a time, something like a portrait or whatever, or if you wanted to shoot more pictures in a rapid sequence, you need to change that mode. And you do that by going here. So I'm in tab 1, notice this is red here. It has 14 pages. If I want to change between the tabs, I have to go up over here. Now I'm in the different tab modes. If I go right, I can go through all of the different tabs. So now I'll go into tab 1 here, and I want to come down to get into that tab. So now I have 14 pages to choose from. I want to go to page 3. And in page 3, notice it says drive mode. I'm set to single shooting. So if I come down here and I click on this, I have different options here. I'm going to come down to this one. This is my continuous shooting mode. So I have different options here. Low is going to give me about 2.5 frames per second as long as I hold down the shutter button here. If I go to mid, mid will give me about 6 frames per second. High will give me about 8 frames per second, and high plus will try to do a little better than that. A lot of this is going to depend on the write capability of the SD card that you have. I think for our purposes, we could probably get away with mid and settle in at about 6 frames per second. So when you hold this shutter button down of the fast moving action, it'll try to take 6 pictures every second. Notice now when I'm in continuous shooting, I get a stack of photos here and it tells me I'm in the mid, so I can expect to get those 6 frames per second. Again, if I went back to drive mode and I was in single, you would see I just get the one rectangle here to indicate I'm taking one photo at a time. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these buttons here, C1, C2, C3, and down here at the bottom, C4. Those are what is known as the custom buttons, meaning you can change the functionality of that button based on what you want to do. Right now I have my C1 to switch me quickly between autofocus and manual focus. To manually focus on this camera, you turn the ring here like this. This one allows me to zoom in and out. So notice here I'm at 24 millimeters, and then here I'm at 70 millimeters. So that's the most this lens can zoom in, and this is the most the lens can zoom out. And I would turn this ring here in front of it to focus. So the C1 button here lets me quickly change between manual and autofocus because that's what I set it to. I have C2 to be able to quickly change through my white balances. So if I hit C2, you see I get my different white balance options set up here. And then my C3 lets me change between my focus modes, which we'll talk more about in a second. But let's say we want C3 to be able to change the drive mode instead. What do we do? How do we get there? So we're going to hit the menu button here. And we're going to go up to tab 2. So remember, to get rid of this orange line, we're going to go up here to tab 2 now. Now I'm in tab 2. Notice I'm up here. There's no color line here, so I can just navigate through all the different tabs. So in tab 2, I'm going to come down to get into that tab. Notice here I'm on page 1 of 9. I need to go to page 8. On page 8, I have 3 custom keys. This is for playback functionality, so we don't use that one as much. This one is for video. And the top one here is custom key for photo. So if I click into here and I go down to custom button 3, I can click on this. So what is it that I want to be able to change? I want to be able to change the functionality of custom button 3, which we're on here, and I want to find where it is in the menu. So I'm going to go back here to page 2 and I want to change the drive mode. So if I click here and I go to drive mode, now, when I click custom button 3, notice it takes me straight to drive mode and I can change quickly from here without having to dive into the menu. For right now, I switched the functionality of C3 back to focus mode, and I did that because I went into the menu and I went into tab 2. By the way, don't freak out. If you cover the viewfinder, the screen will turn off. That's common practice even in the Z150 if you're familiar with that camera. So if I cover this, don't worry that this screen will turn off. You can shoot with this on the whole time, but if you put your eye up to the viewfinder, it will turn off. So in tab 2, I'm going to go to custom key, come down to custom button 3, and then I went to page 4 to set the focus mode back to the function of C3. So now when I hit C3, it takes me into the different focus modes. So let's start at the top one, AFS. As it says there, this is for a single shot autofocus. This is great for portraits and static images, or your subject isn't moving. Obviously, that's not going to be the case very often with sports, but do know that that's an option for you. AFA, it sort of automatically switches between single and continuous. I think it's a better option for our purposes to probably use AFC, which is continuous, because during a game anyway, you're not going to be using much of the single shot if stuff is happening and people are moving. If it's a static portrait that you want to get, or somebody is sitting on the bench on the sideline, then yeah, you could certainly go ahead and shoot it with single mode. And that's why it's not a bad idea to have the focus mode set to either C3 or C4, C3 or C4 here, C4 hiding down here at the trash can, also doubles as C4. So you can switch quickly between your different focus modes. And then DMF stands for direct manual focus. We don't use it as much. This one being MF is your manual focus that, again, if you're going to use the frontmost ring on the lens to achieve manual focus. For our purposes, I'd say we'd probably primarily, at least during a game, we would be in AFC. Now, right under AFC here, this tells you your focus area. I'm going to hit this function button to take us to this menu here, and we're going to look at focus areas. So now with the focus area selected, wide, as the name implies, looks at the entire frame. All right, so it's taking a wide view of the frame and trying to keep everything there in focus. Zone tries to bring it in a little tighter, so you have the different zones, sort of like almost like the rule of thirds, if you guys are familiar with that, with the different boxes. What zone of the image do you want it to be in? Top left, top right, etc. Center is obviously paying more attention to what's in the middle of the frame. And then flexible spot lets you use this little joystick here to move the spot that you want the camera to primarily focus on to any different part of the image. So if I come here, it might be a little hard to see in the video, but you can see this box moving around on the frame. That is my flexible spot. So I could tell it, hey, I want you to focus over here. I'm in autofocus continuous with the flexible spot turned on. For the sake of what we're doing, that's probably not going to be as good. I would say I would stick with either zone or wide, perhaps. If you're shooting a game especially, I would start here on wide. If you really know you want to pinpoint some action, you can come and center weight it, so long as you're framing the subject in the middle of the frame. But if they're off to the side over here, they may or may not be in focus because the camera's weighting what's in the middle over and giving it priority over what's on the sides. To get something in focus on the A7 when you're in autofocus, just half press the shutter button here. So as you can see, I have my subject here. You want to focus there. Now I'm going to half press, and you see that the subject is now in sharp focus. So if I wanted to take the picture, I would just continue pressing down and it would take the photo. This is, of course, because I'm in autofocus. If I was in manual focus, I would have to rotate this ring here until I achieve proper focus. Okay, so because I'm in autofocus, and then I hold this down halfway, let me get this lined up here. All right, and I'm down here, and then I could adjust the exposure a little bit because this is a little too bright. This dial right here on the front of the camera allows me to change the aperture. So if I quickly, let me get focus here. So you see I can turn this dial to make the image darker or brighter. Okay, and it's changing the number down there by the letter F. This dial back here allows me to change the shutter speed. So I can crank this up to a higher shutter speed, it'll get a lot darker. And if I crank it down to a lower shutter speed, it'll get a lot brighter. Right here on the side of the dial, it says ISO. And that's important because that will help us also achieve proper exposure. Okay, so we have our aperture in the front, our shutter back here, and then the ISO. So if I click this, notice I get my ISO menu here. And so I could just go up and down on this dial and adjust the ISO. So if I put it something really low, like ISO 100, notice I didn't change the aperture, I didn't change the shutter speed, but look how much darker the image is. Now, if I bring this all the way up to something ridiculous, to like 2500 or even higher, you start to see these lines here indicate, those are called zebra, that the image is overexposed. So I would need to do something to adjust that. So obviously in this scenario, I would bring the ISO down until those disappear. When it comes to achieving proper exposure and taking photos, you need to keep three things in mind. And they're commonly referred to as the exposure triangle because they're all very much interconnected, and if you change one, it impacts the other two. And they are aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. You see those three numbers listed here at the bottom of the camera. So your shutter speed is your fraction, 1/60 or whatever the case might be. Your aperture starts with the letter F and has a number right after it. And then your ISO down here at the bottom right, as you see, has the number on there and it says the word ISO. So what do all three of these mean? We'll start with shutter speed. If you're shooting fast moving action, this number is going to have to be higher, something like 1/500th of a second. Shutter speed refers to how fast think of it like blinking your eye. Do you want to blink slowly or do you want to blink quickly? If something's moving quickly by you, like it is in sports, that shutter speed needs to be faster. So how do you adjust the shutter speed? You use the dial at the back of the camera to adjust the shutter speed. But notice here, if I do this, I am now cranking this shutter speed way up. Now I'm at 1/1000. I didn't change my aperture and I didn't change my ISO. All I changed was the shutter speed, and you see how much darker the frame got. Again, all three are connected between aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. So if I come back down to like 1/60, now all of a sudden things look a lot better in terms of exposure. Let me bring this down even slower. I'm going to bring this way down to like 1/6. Now everything is overexposed. And again, all I changed is the shutter speed. Now here with Grogu, things are fine because he's not moving, but if I move my hand in front of him, notice how blurry my hand is. Because again, the shutter speed is very slow, and it's going to blur any fast-moving action. So if I crank this back up, let's say to 1/500, now if I move my hand, it's not nearly as blurred, but now it's too dark. So what do? Well, first I could try to open the aperture. So this lens will only go to an f4. So that's the maximum I can go on the aperture. So my shutter speed's okay because my action is not being completely blurred out, but it's still underexposed. So my last option here would be to adjust the ISO. So if I come down here to ISO, and then I'll crank this number up. Notice now Grogu's exposure is better and things are looking a lot better. One thing to note about ISO is the higher the number, the more noise you're likely to get in your images. So be careful with how much ISO you use. You don't want to overdo it where that your images are really grainy, but obviously you have to work the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed to achieve proper exposure.